Apothecary Live Take 2. We're going to be doing an author talk with Cherry Parra, author of The Left-Hand Path of Tarot. Hopefully this one works. So let me get Cherry in. Perfect. This works. Okay. Hopefully this does not freeze and this works. So let's see how we're doing here. Okay.
Okay, hopefully we're not frozen anymore, like in any sense.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, let us know if you hear us and if it's still frozen before we get started. Much better. Okay. So Cherry wrote The Left-Hand Path of Tarot. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this book, which I spent the past couple of days with, why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know about you and your practice?
Well, yes, I am Cherry Parra. I am a Mexican left-hand path witch. I have been reading tarot for like over a decade and a half. And this is my first book. And my books are open. I am on Instagram and also on Threads only. And over there, like at, well, you can also see my username, cherryred_tarot. And on both of my bios, you can find like links to get the book and to book sessions. And I think there's one to join my newsletter. And yeah, maybe I always join these events that like makes me so excited. I'm so grateful the community has been so great and so supportive of this book so far. But I always feel kind of like I should be doing more like on social media, but I'm just not built that way. But I promise, like I really enjoy these opportunities to connect a lot more than it would seem. So I'm very grateful for the space. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, we're so thankful that you're taking the time to talk to us today because this book is great. And, you know, I would also consider myself a left-hand practitioner, although I also think having to choose being entirely one thing or entirely another thing is sort of ridiculous. We have two hands for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
I just because I'm a predominantly right-handed person in terms of writing and doing things doesn't mean that I necessarily don't ever use my left hand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And the same I think in practice, but I think that a lot of people sort of have a misconstrued idea of what it means to be a left-hand path practitioner, especially because left-handed is seen as being sort of dark-sided or doing things that might be like evil, which is so ridiculous. But so how would you define being a left-hand practitioner?
I adopted the label or the term because I used to like over 10 years ago, I used to identify like as a theistic satanic practitioner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the more that I practiced, the more restrictive I found that label. And I think that I have always considered myself an outsider. And even though it can be said that everyone that practices witchcraft, magic, anyone who reads tarot, and so on and so forth, they are all outsiders in a way. But even, I mean, anyone who is in this community knows that there are still some of us who are not we are part of the community, but we are outside of like the usual standards of a community. We are not members of any coven. Our practices differ from most of the accepted witchcraft or magical practices. And so I was looking for something that kind of like had a wider perspective. And even though the origins of the term are very, if we view them from like a contemporary lens, they are also outdated and very prejudiced.
Hmm.
But I think that we create our own definitions as we practice and as we connect with one another and as we, build our lives, around a certain set of principles. So to me, that is the left-hand path is kind of like the outsider's path, an outsider's outsider, so to speak. And to be quite honest, uh, and this is a very personal perspective, but I think that we have still to come to terms with the fact that there are such things, there are practitioners that are legitimate practitioners that we may not agree with and align with. Uh, but they do practice a certain type of magic and they do have another set of beliefs. And for me, that's completely okay. The important thing is to be congruent, to walk your talk. You cannot be saying that you are all about not doing harm or doing harm and then do the opposite,
Right.
because in the end, I mean, evil and good are can be very much a matter of perspective, and it's something different every single day. There are some principles generally that we can align to, but in the end, I mean, the whole of, witchcraft and tarot and occultism in general is like super broad and it has so many applications and iterations that it's impossible to kind of like decide what is accepted and what is not, what is valid and what is not. So in the end, it's all about having an authentic practice in alignment with your own intentions and with your beliefs. And that immediately like shows the way around. And um, I think that maybe that's the difference also. And yes, you mentioned that it can be perceived as dark. And yes, it is dark. But that's part of like the meat of the whole thing, we do know and we embrace that aspect and we can decide how we work with that, if you like dive deep into it or if you balance it out. There are times to work with that darkness and there are times when you just put it aside a little bit, but it's always there, and as a left
Yeah.
hand path practitioner, I think that that is like a core part of my practice and my beliefs, and that is something that I really wanted to convey in the book.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Somebody commented we all have a shadow. We absolutely all do. And it's really interesting that so much of what you write about in the book as it pertains to tarot is about using the tarot as a lens to understand your shadow, to to really witness it without shame, without sort of putting it through the societal lens, but to just give it an honest look. And
Mhm.
that's something that I learned to do by Carolyn Elliott, who wrote your foreword.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I saw that Carolyn wrote your foreword, I'm like, of course she did. And it's a beautiful and wonderful foreword. But tarot as a tool to honestly look at who we are at a particular point in time, I think is such a crucial tool, you know, to not
Yeah.
to not just bullshit ourselves.
Yes, exactly. That's brilliantly put. That's like the core of my readings is about, ha conveying the guidance that the cards offer in a way that the querent has something very tangible and very practical and very like no bullshit allowed approach here, because otherwise it's not like if you're only using it to validate your preconceptions or to keep yourself like in a safe place coddled, then it really doesn't make sense to even like consult the cards at all. So, and yeah, I mean, it was such an amazing, like, beyond my dreams thing that Carolyn Elliott wrote the foreword of the book, because she was mentioned to me like from years
Mm-hmm.
ago. Of course, her like now like classic book Existential King was like reference to me because some people like were resonating. back in the days when I was on Twitter and very active there, people were like, "Oh, what you said reminds me so much of what Carolyn Elliott wrote in her book," and now all these years after, and to be told that she was going to write a foreword to my book, it was like insane. But yeah, I mean, it felt very much like a completion of
Yeah,
a stage there. So it's amazing.
absolutely. I think what's so wonderful about Carolyn's work, and I actually reference Carolyn in the book to my tarot deck. So you and I share publishers. We're both Wiser
Mhm, mhm,
authors. Um, so I actually referenced existential kink in one of the definitions, and I don't even remember what card it is now.
mhm.
Probably the devil. I
The
think
classic, yeah.
but I want to show you my devil card while we're talking because I think you'll appreciate
Mhm,
it. Um,
mhm,
so you know, so here's the thing, right? How many times do we have somebody that comes to get a reading with us where they're looking for a confirmation, right? And
mhm, mhm,
that's sort of not our job as good and honest readers for somebody else or
mhm,
even for ourselves to
mhm,
to
mhm,
tell them what they want to hear.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And I really love your spreads because they're super duper practical.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Super duper practical. I actually had done the spread. I actually did your lone wolf spread the other night.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I really
And
like that one.
it's a really great spread. So you guys, the spread, it says the ultimate spread for outsiders. It speaks to the current about how to make the best of the traits that separate them from the herd, teaching them how to lean into their otherness, their solitude, and their natural talents. And sometimes, your natural talents are the very thing that make you weird or make you an outsider or make you othered, because they're weird or because they're strange. So I'm curious, what would you say your natural talent is that sort of makes you a lone wolf?
Mhm. Um, I think that I am extremely good at creating processes and sticking to them and getting others to stick to them. And this has been a trait of mine since childhood. It's weird because I'm a Pisces Sun, Scorpio rising. So you would expect me to be a little more like I am all over the place emotionally in many aspects. But when it comes to like my job or like projects that involve a lot of people and kind of like assigning tasks and making tangible things happen, I have always been very much like from a very early age. Uh, I'm the one that tells people what to do and what they're doing wrong and what they need to do better at. So, and I was never like at home, I was never like repressed in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of my planets are in Virgo, so I think that that has a lot to do with that.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
and I think that has really singled me out because I am not like the person who becomes popular or is beloved because they are like getting along with everyone. And for a long time, at first I kind of like I sensed that there was something different about me that rubbed others the wrong way. And sometimes I relished that, and sometimes it made me miserable and very self-conscious and very like lonely.
Mm.
But well, as you grow older, I kind of realized, yeah, that was that trait, and that's what bothers other people. But at the same time, right now, I'm kind of like really enjoying, leaning into that. And I have managed at my like 9 to 5 job to really reach a position where even if I can tell that other people don't necessarily like me as a person, but I am very respected. And I think that everyone, even those who kind of like feel some kind of way about me, they cannot argue with the evidence of the results that I bring to the table. So, and I think that even within the community, it's difficult because most of the people that are in the occult and witchcraft communities are very free spirited, and many unfortunately lack a sense of, how to plan things, how to make that happen, and being
Yeah.
concise, which is also why I think my spreads tend to be very much like, okay, what is the point here? And how can we find out the most in the least amount of like tools?
Yeah.
So I think I like how it's played out, but of course it hasn't been easy, and this is why I wanted to also convey that message through the book, because when we say like that we want to achieve self-love or like whatever, it's viewed through a very rosy lens, and we kind of expect like, oh, I need to work on myself so that I can make these parts that I don't like too much or that are problematic a bit less problematic. And I'm like, fuck that, sorry. But
That's okay.
we shouldn't. Why should we? I mean, we just need to like, yes, not harm others like stupidly, but we should be authentic, and we should find out what it is about us that, I mean, if something is problematic, how can we use it uh, to achieve joy and to maybe bring out the best from others and improve every situation that we're in without having to change ourselves or to numb ourselves, because we will never be perfect. We will never heal ourselves to that place of perfection. I
No
think
such
that as
thing.
humans, yeah, as humans, I think it's crap to aim to that. So, like, okay, we have this and this and this and this flaw that, is considered a flaw
Right.
or a defect. Uh, but what if we stop like looking at that as something negative? It's just what it is. Okay, so now how do you bring that to the table in a way that benefits you and makes everything better for everyone, especially
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, because it's so funny because people, shadow work has become this sort of juggernaut in the witchcraft community. Like you have to do
Mm-hmm.
shadow work, you have to do shadow work, and it's interesting because it's so personal because it just like your practice, it's just like doing the work. It's such a personal process. But
Mm-hmm.
I always warn people that like it's not something that you do one time and it's over. Your
Mm-hmm.
shadow continues to reveal itself to you throughout
Mm-hmm.
your life, and as you meet it and you understand it, and then as you grow through different experiences and sort of bring that shadow along with you, you keep interacting with it in different ways. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily say that it's ever healed or done. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
you begin to recognize it as a part and a piece of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, but it's in that knowing of what it
Mm-hmm.
is and how it
Yeah.
shows up in your world. That's what
Mm-hmm.
is important.
Mm-hmm.
But this book is an amazing way to use the tarot to start to integrate shadow work through tarot into your either daily practice or just the understanding of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted it so much to be like a tool,
Yeah.
even like anyone, regardless of how they practice witchcraft or magic or how they read tarot, but they can find at least like one spread or one perspective
Mm-hmm.
that they can start applying like immediately, and they can, attain a ton of, good things and benefits. Yeah.
So when I did your lone wolf spread,
Mm-hmm.
card number one is the essence of the card's uniqueness. So I think this is so hysterical. I don't know if my business partner Danielle's on. I want to show you a card I pulled for card number one. Now, some
Hmm.
people would see this card as a negative. I started hysterically laughing because it is at, like you say, what this highlights your uniqueness, the core trait, talent, or perspective that sets the card apart from others. It's the foundation of their individuality. You're not ready for this. I mean, maybe you're ready, but okay. And I'm using my own deck because that's what I used when I did it. Okay.
Love it. Yeah.
Ten of Wands.
Yeah, I can imagine why you laughed.
I was like, oh, absolutely. Literally, like,
Yeah.
I got it. I got it. I got it. Like, and it's so funny because a lot of times, like, people will see this card in a negative connotation, but I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
I actually can hold everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I can, like, put it on my back, put it on my shoulder. So, so yeah, this is my Ten of Wands is black kyanite,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and
you.
like
That's
that's
totally you. Yeah.
totally me. But turn it. Yeah, it is balanced sideways. It's totally balanced sideways. Absolutely. Thank you for telling me to turn it sideways. That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I just was giggling. Like, first card flipped over. I'm like, damn, this spread just smacked me right in the face.
Hmm. And it's usually, I bet it's something that comes up whenever someone or some situation is like pointing that out, as if it's like the thing about you that makes uh, things complicated, or that creates like conflict. Like it
Mm-hmm.
is viewed often as like, oh, like maybe what do you say, like they want to hold, like grasp everything, and there's like not
Yeah.
much strength. But in your case, it's like absolutely not true, and
Yeah.
that's how you are, and there's no need for you to like kind of like do things any differently, because this is how your mind works, and this
Yeah.
is how you thrive. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's almost like the more I could carry, the more alive I am. And I
Hmm.
think for the longest time I felt so abnormal. Like you say, like finding the thing that makes you an outsider. Because people would always say, like, aren't you tired? Why don't you rest? Why don't you relax? And I'm like, because I don't want to. I
Hmm.
like to
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Hmm.
like doing stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And also what I can see there actually, which is I think that something that is pretty incredible about you, then, is that when you own something, like spiritually or like realistically, uh, you don't let go easily. You don't quit. Like the more challenges it presents, the more you get a hold of it. So this makes you like the ideal person for like carrying out like nearly impossible, or viewed as impossible, like projects, and bringing ideas like plans and dreams into reality. And you're like, once that you get hold of that, and you're probably the same also with your relationships, you don't give up on others like
Yeah.
easily at all. And even if they go later, but you are kind of like always like with part of your spirit, it's there, kind of like owning
Yeah.
that.
I think that's a really interesting perspective. Although I will say it takes me a very long time to put something down. But once
Mhm.
it's down,
It's
it's
down forever.
fucking
Yeah.
down.
But it's
Like,
like exceptions, right? Yeah. And it's only because it's like, if you dropped it, it's because like it deserved to be dropped. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, bye bye. Bye bye.
yeah.
So it was so interesting. Um the I wanted to show you my devil card because I think in the context of your
Hmm.
book,
Hmm.
you'll appreciate it. I'm just gonna show it to you.
Hmm.
So here's my devil.
Okay. Oh,
And it
I think that this is a very like unique one that I've seen.
so
Okay.
this is a black obsidian scrying mirror.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
the idea is it's showing your shadow back to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, that was one of the first images that revealed itself to me, where I was like, oh, it's because when people come to the devil or they pull a devil in the reading, they're always like, who's the devil? Who's
Uh-huh.
manipulating you? And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, no,
Look in the mirror.
who are
Yeah.
you chaining yourself to? Like, who
Yeah.
are you chaining yourself
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's that aspect of ourselves that is
Yeah,
somehow like connecting with this other like thing that maybe like once you realize that the phone call is coming from inside the house, it kind of like maybe it doesn't always get less scary, but it becomes manageable because you're like, okay, like I know where that's coming from. So I think that
yeah,
that's a beautiful and the devil is like such a stupidly maligned card because of all the Christian prejudices that come through it that
yeah,
still are like alive and breathing among the occult in the witchcraft and the tarot community, and
yeah,
it's like even like unconsciously so I love like deconstructing
yeah.
the devil at every chance I get.
Oh, absolutely. Another spread of yours that I cannot wait to dig into, I didn't have time over the past couple of days, is you have this unbelievable family tree spread.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. First of all, I am obsessed with ancestry because I think that our ancestors, even if they sucked, they want us to win,
Hmm. Hmm.
whatever that means, because
Hmm.
we are literally the promise of their immortality,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? And this is just, you know, an unbelievable way to get insight
I
in.
It was inspired by Jodorowsky's work. I don't know if maybe somebody before him already did, but if they did, I don't know their names. But he created and he wrote a book that is called Meta Genealogy
Mhm.
about, working, like unraveling the burdens and the influences of your ancestors, like from way, way back to where you are today.
Mm,
And of course, that has also become like entered the mainstream, as we call it, even beyond like witchcraft and spirituality communities. There have been books written about this, but the impact that ancestry and all of these stories exert upon us on a daily basis is like astounding. And I
yeah,
truly believe that if everyone was aware, at least of parts of that complete ancestor history, this like the situation in the world would be like super different from what it is right now. So that was a huge inspiration, like, for creating this spread, and also because like years and years ago, I kind of like argued with someone on Twitter. It was a younger tarot reader who was kind of like taking very matter of factly that uh, tarot cards could be used or should be used, or it was the way she read the cards, but that should be used for, speaking with, ancestors or spirits. But the way that she was putting it back then, it was kind of like as if it was the usual. And at the time, I was like very averse to that because to me, tarot and mediumship are different things. And it's perfectly all right if someone does both. And if they have that capacity and they are trained in doing that, then that's amazing. And it's super helpful. But if anyone that comes to tarot does so because they are expecting to have this contact with ancestors, like right off the bat, I mean, it's not something that just happens. It takes a certain amount of preparation and that talent to do that. But it was kind of like always lingered in the back of my mind. my opinion, I wouldn't say like completely changed or shifted, but I said, well, there is a way to kind of like start tackling that aspect, but without like going into full like medium, mode,
Hmm.
because that is like a different practice that I really respect. But this is something I kind of like in the middle that can help people maybe fill in some gaps and extract some information about, their ancestry, their stories, the family narratives that they need
Yeah.
to work on. Hmm.
Yeah. So there's a question about how you found your lineage.
Hmm.
I mean, I know how I found mine, but let's how did you find
Yeah.
yours?
Well, here in Mexico, we do have a lot of, those of us who do have contact with our families, even if they are very small, like as is mine right now. But we do have, stories that were passed on. And we talk a lot of the time about things that were like experienced that an elder who has now like died used to tell to, and memories and recollections and that sort of thing. So to me, it's like very fresh. In Mexico, there's not like, you won't find people really doing like things online like ancestry.com or 22andMe or things like that. We don't have that. Well, we could have that here, but it's not a common practice at all because the stories are pretty much alive. But that is how I came to a number of conclusions about relatives
Hmm.
that I never met, but that now I understand, oh, this was her circumstance, or this is what was going on with him, and this trait that I have probably comes from here, and blah, blah, blah. But the tarot cards help kind of like um, place this narrative in a simpler way because it can be overwhelming. And if you have all
Yeah.
these bunch of stories, it's difficult to connect them sometimes, even if you have all this information over there. So I felt that was an effective way and a practical way for people to be able to do this.
Yeah. And I think too, it's interesting because a couple weeks ago we had an author who's a very gifted medium, and
Hmm.
she had picked up on two of my paternal aunts, which were my great aunts. So
Hmm.
not really aunts that I spent a ton of time with. However, at big family events, they were always there and they were always invited.
Hmm.
And it was so interesting that she picked up on them. And so now I want to use this spread to
Hmm.
lean more into them because
Hmm.
clearly their energies are sort of around.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's also beautiful that maybe if you do have a medium that's around you that has given you information, you could then
Hmm.
also use a spread like this to sort of
Yeah.
get more insight.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but it's funny because you know here in America, especially at it's this year is the 250th year of America, whatever you want to say about that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, my family came over here in the 1920s, and
Hmm.
that's pretty recent for my
Hmm.
side of the family. However, my ex-husband's family are like from the Revolutionary War.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's really interesting to see even the different ways in which he was raised with his extended family versus the way I was raised with my extended family. Very,
Hmm.
very, very, very different. And so I think for a lot of people whose family has been here for a very long time in this country, having access to like Ancestry 23andMe could be
Hmm.
interesting. Although for
Hmm.
me, even the stories that I was told by my family
Hmm.
wasn't exactly correct.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah, it happens. But
You know?
even if in those contexts, every kind of like spin of a story or like
Mhm.
anything that is left behind unsaid, intentionally or not, it carries its own meaning. So
Yeah.
I think that it's always interesting. But yeah, I mean, if you have like different sources of information, it's perfect because you have a way to kind of like blend it all together and better read about where you're coming from, and mostly uh, what are some things that you may need to work on that otherwise you wouldn't have realized,
Hmm.
you know, tap into some things, yeah, some aspects of those energies. Some it's not always trauma, sometimes it's just talents, gifts, uh
Yeah,
interests, so yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It, when that medium was in our shop, she saw those two aunts and she's like,
Hmm.
oh, they were definitely witches because they're walking over to the spellwork books. And
Hmm.
like, it's not something that I was like, she was, maybe they didn't like know what it was that they were doing, but they definitely were doing something. I'm like, oh, that's
Hmm.
actually pretty funny.
Hmm.
So like, you really just never know. So I
Hmm.
really do appreciate this thread that you created. And like I said, I've never seen anything like it in a tarot book. So I
Of
think it's
course,
just absolutely fantastic.
that's music to my ears, yeah.
And we sell a lot of tarot books.
I know your authority is there, so I'm I'm
Well,
I'm I'm taking hold to on that comment, dear.
I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far with the word authority because I still consider myself a very terrible tarot reader. But that's the joke. Um, so I it, I do want to go back to the people that are coming on again, talking about the left hand path because I definitely think here, I mean everywhere, but even like here, people like, it's left handed, blah blah blah. Most of the shit that we do as witches, when we pick up a tarot card, we're doing left handed work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Whether you wanna call it left-handed or not, if you pick up a freaking tarot deck and you're like, does he even like me?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly.
It's left-handed work, you guys.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
it's I, I don't so I don't know how it got its thing. Where I and I'm getting real pissed off lately too because and I don't know if you saw what has recently surfaced about like the spiritual community being sort of blown apart because Deepak Chopra is like all over the Epstein files,
Hmm. 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 Yeah.
like in a not great way. And, you know, a lot of people, and we've been long suspicious of, the love and light practitioners, like the toxic positivity practitioners.
Hmm.
Um, but now it seems like it's really just like in our faces now. you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
in our
Hmm.
faces. And honestly, I have to say, if more people used tarot for shadow work or were honest with themselves, they wouldn't get sort of glamored by these sort
Hmm.
of love and
Yeah,
light
yeah.
practitioners that are like selling them the feel good, but not selling them the meat and the potatoes because they're really
Hmm.
just creating a cult of personality.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. And I think that a lot of it comes from, again, that expectation that people have of like, I am very, I'm not going to say I'm like pessimistic 100% of the time, but I have long stopped being this like person who used to believe that everything was like necessarily for the better and that things would like get better. Um, I've been like living in this realization that it's things are things are never really as bad as they seem or as good as they seem. It only depends on where you're standing at the time. And nobody is like figures like this that have this cult following and make up a ton of money and people immediately think, oh, well, they have success and their book sells a lot and their events sell out. They must be onto something. Maybe they have
Right.
that truth that I'm looking for because they think that they want to feel or be like these people. But in reality, I mean, nobody right now, I bet, wants to be Deepak Chopra, like to stand in his shoes. And
Right.
even with all that money, it's like once you lose credibility, like it's pretty much over because people, even if they still hang out with you, but they're going to be
Hmm.
giving you the side eye, because the cat is out of the bag. You can kind of put it back in. But I think that the greatest impact that tarot can have on a person, whether it's yourself or if you're reading for someone else, is to realize that none of us are or will ever be healed. None of us are perfect, and things are never like uh, actually bad or good. I mean, it's all a perspective and it's all shifting and it's all like the inherent situation and the condition of the universe and life and existence and whatever you want to call it is
Hmm.
chaos. And you
Yeah.
can never like you can try to control some elements of it in your like tiny little corner, and that can have ripples. But you just have to learn to ride those waves. And I think that the greatest toxicity is to, trying to sell to people that they can get better, that they can be healed and like achieve this like perfect state where there won't be any more suffering or hurt.
Right.
um, because this is life. It's being human, and it's all about like destroying ourselves to recreate ourselves and rebuild ourselves. So
Yep.
I think that that's one of the joys of tarot, that it really
Hmm.
allows you to lean into those aspects and these facts, and instead of telling you this is the solution, this is the way out, and this is how you can be safe from all of this, it's like, okay, you're not safe, you're screwed, but here is how you make the most of it,
Right.
and I think that it's so important right now, and I hope that it doesn't just stay or stop at figures like Deepak Chopra, because there's a lot, like dozens of people that I can think of that are nowhere near as rich and famous as he is, but who continue to make like tens of thousands of dollars a month selling, I don't know, PDFs, courses, containers, memberships about how to turn your vagina into a magic tinkle portal so that it gets you everything you want and bullshit like that. And I'm like, oh, I mean, no, I mean, yes, you can do that, but you cannot teach others how to do that. And if
Right.
you are teaching others how to do that, you cannot charge for it because that knowledge is out there and it should be free, like for everyone.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, I mean, I hope that the trend continues, and even if these people are small potatoes compared to Chopra and are not in the Epstein files, but we should kind of like have a bit less of a like an open mouth and like starry eyes when it comes
Hmm.
to about them, because I've only been on the space online like for like under 2 decades, and I continue to see so many grifters, and
Yeah.
I hope that that era is soon like reaching an end, because people complain a lot about AI, but to me that is far worse than AI,
Hmm.
far worse. Yeah.
I I agree with you, and it's so interesting because I think one of the best things I ever did was with Danielle, my business partner. We went to a couple of these conferences where these people, these like very big people, were in the room, and
Hmm.
they were doing these like big main stage things, and they were talking about their lives, and I was like, these people don't have it fucking figured out. They're
Sure.
just as bruised, battered, and fucked as us. The
Hmm.
only
Hmm.
the only
Yeah.
difference is they're up on that stage. And I'm gonna tell you, if maybe if Deepak read Existential Kink and did some
Hmm.
Carolyn Elliott style shadow work on himself, he would have gotten very comfortable with his kinky sexual shadow, and he didn't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
be hanging out
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
pedophiles. He could just
Hmm.
be having it in an adult consensual relationship.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because there are ways that you can do that. But exactly, I mean, if you hide from those aspects of yourself, then it's like eventually it blows up in your face.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it doesn't just impact you. It like it ripples
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah.
So it's like a bunch of things that they're grappling with like energies and influences that they don't fully understand. They know
Mm.
how to play with that to like attain financial resources and power. But yeah, those are very finite if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal should be something else. But yeah, I think that slowly, I mean, the younger generations, kids that are just really getting into like formally practicing witchcraft or reading tarot and things like that, some of them, not all of them, but I have seen a couple of these kids like in their early 20s that are already have like a bigger set of balls and brains than all of these people combined.
Yeah.
So I think that a shift is coming, and ultimately the goal here, or the like the not the goal, but maybe the place towards where we're headed is that everyone should like learn these tools and learn how to apply them to their lives to
Yeah.
attain the change that they want, like for their lives, but also living life because like just doing that as a shortcut, it doesn't work. You have to put in the work, and the work is not like just doing rituals and retreats and things like that. The work is living life. It's the
Yeah.
little things. So yeah.
Absolutely. What
Hmm.
what so when we're asking questions and we're at work. So just so you know, we are Amityville Apothecary. We have a bunch of practitioners, and we are a coven of solitary practitioners that are pretty much primarily neurodivergent that practice next to each other for
Hmm.
regulation purposes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we all have our different practices, but a lot of times when we're asking questions and we're pulling our tarot deck, we have signifier cards for all different people. So, like, say, for example, if somebody wants to know about me, they might look for the Queen of Swords because
Uh-huh.
that's my birth card in the Thoth Tarot. So
Mm.
that's what I typically use. And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Danielle really likes and connects with the star. So so my question to you is, right now, what would you think your signifier card would be for
The
yourself?
ni- the Nine of Pentacles, without
Nine.
question. Yeah, it's been for a while. So, and
Awesome.
I don't feel that it's going to change for a bit. But yeah, I mean, that is pretty much encompasses the vibe that I want to like embody in life and what I have been doing these past few years, like 5 or 6 years, it's been like the process of doing that to take
Mm,
me there, to the like it was a goal, but right now I consider myself an embodiment of that card. And I know it's like not a major arcana, but
that's okay.
I don't know. It's like I've always felt like really close and to it, and I see myself in it from the very beginning. So yeah.
That's awesome. What card is currently pissing you off?
Hmm. It's it pisses me off less now than it used to, but the Hierophant.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I have like a complicated relationship with that card, but I mean, I'm still never like super happy when they pop up, but I'm like more open. I used to like
Okay.
roll my eyes at it, and I was like, but recently, I mean, I used to be a very, despite what I told you, I mean, I'm great, like of course, to discipline everyone else and keep everyone else in line, but when it comes to me, I sucked at it. And the last 2, 3 years, because of, getting older, and there were some situations with my physical and my spiritual health that came up, my mental health. And I've had to, force myself to be more disciplined
Mm.
towards myself for my benefit. So I think that that's what the Hierophant represents to me, discipline. So I'm growing fonder of that card, but it's still not easy when it comes up because it means probably that I have to kind of like adopt a more strict approach towards myself,
Mm.
in the area that I'm inquiring about. So it's like, like kind of like challenging work is like in front of me. So that's, I always want to like, I have a tendency to want to cut corners always and like do things like it doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be done. And sometimes with the Hierophant, you can't be like that. It has to take time. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's my saying, man. That's I'm always like, done's better than perfect.
yeah. And sometimes it's like, oh, you did it and you thought it was done, and now you have to redo it, and nobody
Yeah.
likes that. So it's like, yeah, yeah,
Nobody can kick your ass better than you. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
yeah,
This
we can
is
always
true.
kick our
Yeah, this is true.
does anybody have any questions for Cherry about the left hand half of tarot, which is available everywhere books are sold. Although buy it from your local bookshop because Jeffrey Bezos has enough money, seriously.
Yeah, too
He has
much
enough
money
money.
and no taste.
Well, and then that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I
Give your money to
actually
people with taste.
oh no, I know it's too much. I listened to about half of your podcast about Santa Muerte.
Ah, good.
That's so good, so interesting. So somehow, and this is very funny, but you'll get this, is that somehow Santa Muerte has taken up residence on her back altar. Like she's like, I fucking go here.
Yeah, he's like that. Yeah, he's one of those unexpected guests that you end up welcoming, and she's like, okay, you're here. So
No,
yeah,
she fucking moved in.
yeah.
and and she's been she's been there for about 3.5 years now. And what's ironic is that, and like I said, like we're a bunch of different practitioners. We all do different things. I think
Hmm.
I purchased the first statue of her when I was in Mexico,
Hmm.
and I was like, I walked past there, and I'm a Virgin Mary, I'm a Blessed Mother collector. I have very many different Blessed Mother statues, and I walked past. I was like, "Hi, Santa Muerte," and she literally was like, "Don't leave me in this shop." I was like, "Shit." I was like, "Okay, I don't know what you want with me, but here we go." And it has it. It's she's a riot. She's fantastic, and
Yeah.
she always yells at me, and she says, "I give you more grace than I give anybody," and I'm like, "Thank you very much."
No, she's really incredible. I kind of like my connection with her is very kind of like started from someone that I really love that is very close to me, of course. So she's like family in a
Mm,
way, but uh, but I feel that her relationship gets closer and closer, and she has found a way to kind of like even before, that podcast with the occult Bridgets about Santa Muerte, it happened because it came up in the conversation. She brings herself up
yeah.
through different channels. So I think that yeah, I don't know yet what form it will take or what aspect it will be that I will be uh, probably writing about her in some sort of way, but I am fascinated by it because she's been very, like you say, very vocal
Mm,
through people that come in contact with me. So I think that's uh, really remarkable. And it's something that amazes me every day, how you just need to pay attention and be open to establishing these relationships.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You could buy the book. You could buy the Left Hand Path of Tarot. We sell it at shop.amityvilleapothecary.com or any local bookshop close to you. Like I said, Amazon does not need any more purchases from us. And by the way, their delivery times have gotten really slow anyway, so who gives a fuck? And
Yeah.
then you it's shop amityvilleapothecary.com is our website. And I'm sure there will be a Santa Muerte book, although I also think like a really great deck of cards because I know there's already like Santa Muerte cards, but I don't I think she she could I think she could have new ones.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just
No,
saying.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Yes. But any last questions? Because we always are very conscious. I hope also I didn't start with this, but I hope you are safe. I know that it has been the news that we're seeing, and we don't see a lot of news um,
Hmm.
about what's happened in Mexico since that
Yeah,
person was
no,
killed has been scary.
yeah, I think that the media, both the national and the international media, has blown it like way out of proportion completely,
Mm,
which is something I hate. I appreciate what good media does in keeping us
yeah,
informed, but there's this like majority of it that just is an amplifier of misinformation, and or sometimes it's true information, but they focus on it so much that they just end up amplifying. And yes,
yeah,
in the state of Jalisco, which is not where I'm located, there have been like more reports, like more serious incidents there, and people are rightfully very scared and very affected. But I would say, like, the first day, there were like some things like blocking the roads and blah, 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 but there were no like
yeah,
major catastrophes happening. And everywhere they were thinking that the whole country was on fire and it was a war zone. And it's not, there's nothing further from the truth.
yeah,
Yes, over here, like Monday, they closed schools just as precautionary measure. But I mean, people are living their lives like as usual, and we are commenting here all the time that even in these circumstances, Mexico is safer than the United States on any given day because we don't have like school shootings and things like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
fortunately, but of course, there have been some people that are closer to like where these things happened actually that are maybe more under threat. But yeah, I mean, I guess that it will be interesting now to see how things develop because the astrological dates when this happened and everything, it means that a change has taken place, but it's still too soon to tell if it's like uh, for the better of the working
yeah,
people who are the ones that actually matter,
yeah,
or not. So I'm just like trying to support like hardworking Mexicans and
yeah,
people who live and work here day to day. Those are the ones that will always have like my support as like a fellow Mexican. And yeah, I mean, everyone is like very rightly kind of like annoyed that so many tourists were complaining. But yeah, I mean, that's how it is. I mean, and Mexico
well,
is a very generous and welcoming country. So for better and worse.
yeah. I I absolutely, tourists, God forbid, one, one little, not that it's a little thing, but look, it happens, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But it's,
Yeah.
as long as, like I said, you're absolutely right. People have to be safe, but I think like the people, just like in America, United States of America, it's just like the regular people, the people that are getting
Hmm.
up every single day, trying to make a life for themselves, trying to make
Hmm.
something better for
Hmm.
their kids, and put food on
Hmm.
the table. Like that's like who should have the support, not all this other ridiculousness and
Hmm.
nonsense. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
well, thank you so much
It was
for
so much fun.
coming on and talking. If you're ever in New York City, we're about an hour commuting outside of New York City by train. So open invitation anytime to come hang out with us.
Thank you. I will absolutely do that. I have been planning to visit New York City like for 2 or 3 years, and something always happens that prevents me from doing that. But hopefully soon. Yeah, and I'll hit you up for sure.
Yeah, definitely come, and we could even we'll come into the city and play tourists and so show you all the cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah, please, would love that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for
Thank you.
watching. The people on the replay, and have a great night. We'll talk soon.
So
Good
cool.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.